Hey, welcome to the Rerun Lounge. I'm Remy, and today I have some Totoro for you. One of my earlier and most treasured memories is my first experience with a Studio Ghibli movie. Hayao Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro, a film about two sisters that move to rural Japan and encounter forest spirits, has persisted as my personal favorite Ghibli movie, and one of my top favorite movies of all time. It may not be the Ghibli film with the deepest plot, but that is part of the draw for me. I love the simplicity and wonder. It's a fun, breezy story with low stakes and high fun, while leaving enough mystery and magic in the world to keep your sense of curiosity slightly eased, but still fascinated. Despite its simplicity, there is so much to analyze in this movie, ranging from the representation of rural Japanese culture to the themes of Shinto religion and animism, which, simply put, is the belief that not only do living beings, but also objects and places possess a form of sentience and soul. You can break down the artistic aspects of the film with its impactful score by Joe Hisaishi that accompanies the majestic visions of nature. Or examine the elements of growing up, whether it be from the first time a boy really notices that girl across the room, or how one learns to manage complicated emotions that stem from the potential loss of a loved one. My Neighbor Totoro has the many complexities of life intertwined into its narrative, but manages to touch up on them in a way that is digestible and unintimidating. Audiences around the world fell in love with the movie's enchanting atmosphere, and it earned Totoro himself the honor of being the company's mascot. I'm not here today to go into deep detail about the themes present in the movie, but rather, I want to talk about the two executions of the film presented by the two different English dubs. Yeah, you heard me. English Totoro has a twin brother out there. A scrappy, quirky, and goofy brother that likes to go against the grain a little. Well, he does have an alleged third brother that was produced in Hong Kong, but he's kinda stuck there and probably will be for a while. Little is known about the third brother, so we won't focus on that any further. The current and most widely available English dub of My Neighbor Totoro is the Disney dub. Why am I not surprised? The other is the older Streamline dub. It is more difficult to come across because it is out of print. 1 year after the initial 1988 release of My Neighbor Totoro in Japan, Streamline Pictures dubbed the film to be used exclusively by Japan Airlines on their trans-Pacific flights. The dub was spearheaded by Carl Macek, a very controversial figure in the anime community. He was the one who helped spark the original dub vs sub war, with his drastic deviations from original Japanese scripts and harsh alterations of anime. Certainly, it couldn't have been that bad, right? Well, an example of his handiwork would be the creation of Robotech, while under the company Harmony Gold USA. It was made by heavily editing 3 different and unrelated anime series into one show. Super Dimensional Fortress Macross, Super Dimensional Cavalry Southern Cross, both from the Super Dimensional trilogy, and Genesis Climber Mospeada all had a similar visual style and were chosen to edit due to this. Many see his work as helpful in bringing anime to be mainstream in the West. Others see his work as harmful to the art as a whole. Personally, I see some value in the work he produced, but I am not a proponent of altering art in the way that he did. It's not like this guy was editing together an anime music video. He literally chimered 3 different shows into one, and people called it out as the Americanization of anime. The history of Carl Macek is certainly interesting and full of controversy, considering the many anime that he directed and localized that even include more Ghibli films. But our neighbor is waiting, so let's continue. In 1993, the Streamline dub was released in US theaters by Troma Films under the 50th Street Films label. Fox Video later released the movie for home and rental in 1994 on VHS, and again in 2002 once DVD had taken over the market. The Streamline dub, sometimes called the Troma dub or Fox dub, had its rights expire in 2004. So Mickey decided to put his love in the mix.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
And Disney re-released the movie in 2006 with a new dub written by Don and Sidney Hewitt. It also featured a star-powered cast, most notably Dakota Fanning and her younger sister, Elle Fanning, who voiced the titular characters Satsuki and Mei, respectively. The Fanning sisters were all the rage in the mid-2000s. Dakota was the perfect cast for a precocious kid. You can find her in the disgusting live-action Cat in the Hat movie as Sally, or in Denzel Washington's thriller Man on Fire as the kidnapped girl Lupita, who the Man on Fire rescues. Of course, she was in many more popular movies, but I haven't seen those. Her sister Elle starred in such films as The Door and the Floor and I Want Someone to Eat Cheese With. Two movies that I never heard of, but with names I enjoyed saying. With such fame to their name, it was only natural that they be chosen to dub the main girls of My Neighbor Totoro. They were around the same age as Satsuki and Mei at the time, so in true Peanuts fashion,
wait until you get my bill.
They cast children to voice children. Now, I do want to make one thing clear before we continue. I'm not going to bully the Fanning sisters and their early voice work. I just want to compare their methods to their predecessors, appreciate both takes, and inform on their differences, though I won't hesitate to critique their work or the work of the Streamline voice actors. Okay, let's begin with, well, the beginning of the film, and the comparisons of the intro song, Sanpo, meaning stroll, called Hey Let's Go on the English soundtrack. This will be short, because both dubs use the same English lyrics and it really boils down to what singer you prefer. I prefer Streamline's Cassie Byram. Okay, I'm just messing. It's not going to be that short. I actually have a little to say. Cassie Byram used a gentle and fun voice in her cover, something I find fitting for this movie in particular. On many of the notes that she held, there is a slight vibrato that adds a soft playfulness.
Hey, let's go! Hey, let's go!
It's reminiscent of a nursery rhyme, which is Stroll's classification.
I'm happy as can be.
Sonia Isaacs in the Disney dub has a strong and cheerful take on the song, and neglects to use much vibrato at all, specifically when she sings the word go.
Hey, let's go! Hey, let's go!
Sonia's powerful voice is very fitting for the march Mei is doing in the intro.
And down the bumpy gravel road.
Both have their merits and set you up for a wholesome experience overall. Alrighty, let's move on to the spoken vocals now. Satsuki and Mei Kusakabe are two sisters and the main characters of My Neighbor Totoro. Satsuki is the elder at 11 years of age. She is level-headed and mature, but is still a kid who loves having fun. Being the older sibling, she watches over her younger sister Mei, and tries to be the voice of reason, but is prone to emotional outbursts when faced with great stress. Mei is a carefree and curious 4-year-old girl, who can be a bit stubborn at times. Mei loves being around Satsuki and playing games with her. She can be quick to cry when things don't go her way though. These girls, being the two we follow for the bulk of the movie, have the most speaking lines. The voice actors for these characters carry a heavy task on their shoulders as we will be hearing them the most. In the Streamline dub, Lisa Michelson brought Satsuki to life with a youthful and energetic voice.
Come on, I better convince you around the house. Hey, wait a minute!
She also added an air of maturity to her that fell in line with her personality.
May, the hospital said that Mommy's condition isn't very good, so she isn't going to be coming home just yet.
Mei has a very familiar voice.
And he was furry. And he had a big mouth.
Maybe you know it.
You babies are so dumb. I'm surprised you know which end of the bottle to suck.
How can this angel be voiced by that Angelica? That is the duality of Cheryl Chase, best known as Angelica from the Rugrats franchise. She uses the same distinct voice for Mei.
I'm gonna give Mommy this corn I picked for her specially.
As she uses on the devilish toddler.
Just aim for the very tip of the foot? I don't know, Angelica.
As stated earlier, Dakota Fanning voiced Satsuki and her sister Elle voiced Mei in Disney's dub. Because the two are of similar ages to the main girls, they bring a very authentic feel to this movie, with an occasional voice crack by Mei,
A bridge? This umbrella has holes.
or a lisp from Satsuki.
I don't think so. They're not bugs or mice either. They were black and they were all over the place.
I'm not certain, but Dakota might have been missing her front teeth during recording, though it could have been only in this interview. Lisa Michelson and Cheryl Chase did have more seasoned vocal cords. They could emote with more control and shift their voices without cracking. Unlike the Fanning sisters, they were adults imitating children. So like any cartoon where an adult voices as a kid, they end up sounding a little unconventional. They string their sentences together in a more competent way than your average child. This, along with Streamline's alteration of the original script, makes Satsuki and Mei seem older than they actually are. Satsuki has a more mature way of carrying herself.
You have no business sleeping in this place. What do you think you're doing sleeping out here?
Mei is almost a different kid altogether.
Acorns!
We found them.
And I found a bunch of them right near the back door.
And they came from way up. Acorns.
Hey, Dad, acorns are falling from the ceiling.
Falling from the ceiling.
Dakota and Elle also brought their own intrigue to the characters. They used their real voices, and both girls have a southern accent, Dakota's being a little stronger.
It was wrapped in a bamboo leaf and tied with a ribbon made of grass. Well, I'll talk to my teacher and see what we can do.
Though some might find this analogous to how American dubs sometimes portray certain dialects, such as the Kansai dialect.
So I says to myself, well, I'll be a rat's uncle. If that ain't a hamster, I don't know what is. I don't get it.
Hey, everyone. Let me show you one more time. Just like this and...
I'm actually not sure if Satsuki is from that area. I looked online, but couldn't find any confirmation on where she lived before moving to the rural parts of Japan. I do find the authenticity of the Fanning sisters to be their greatest strength. They have a chemistry that helps add a very natural and youthful charm to Satsuki and Mei, though both girls were fairly new to voice acting. Elle had no experience, and Dakota only had one voice role prior to My Neighbor Totoro. It was the movie Kim Possible, A Stitch in Time, as young Kim.
Mommy, I want to stay with you and Daddy and my baby sister.
Sometimes the lack of experience shows just a bit on Dakota's side. She can be a tad monotone compared to Lisa.
She goes back on Monday.
Is that so?
I suppose she has to be careful.
Yes, she has.
Or her laughs are a little subdued. Not only did the Streamline crew and the Fanning sisters nail most of the laughs, they did an excellent job with one more thing. The shouting. The many scenes of yelling. From Satsuki. From Mei. So much screaming. Yeah, I forgot how much shouting was in this movie. I don't actually mind, but my heart goes out to their vocal cords. Aside from the renditions of each character done by the Streamline crew and the Fanning sisters, the glaring differences are from the many changes made to the script. It results in a very different feeling for each of the characters and the movie as a whole. The Disney dub stays true to the many moments of silence throughout the film. But Streamline fills in these areas with talking of all sorts.
What a lot of neat old junk!
You think it's haunted?
Or laughter. They possibly thought that the slower pace of the movie, coupled with its withholding of speech, wouldn't sell well. Sometimes it does add a little whimsy, like when the truck hits this bump. Other times, it can detract from the gravity of the moment.
Wow, what a tree!
It's giant!
Also, I'm going to have to give a kudos to Disney because of this.
I'm Satsuki, and that's Mei.
Maybe this needs a little more context.
This is Mei, my sister. And I'm Satsuki.
Satsuki, go and open the kitchen door.
Satsuki, come here.
Satsuki!
Yep, Streamline's dub is insistent on calling her Satsuki. I get it. This came out way before Japanese names were in the American meta. Still, I find it a bit odd considering Lisa Michelson calls Totoro this.
Daddy! Mei was just telling me she saw a big Totoro. Totoro!
I wonder how that happened. I'm not even calling Totoro Totoro. Or am I? The rest of the cast is not featured nearly as much in My Neighbor Totoro as Satsuki and Mei, so I will go over the remaining 4 characters briefly. Tatsuo Kusakabe is the caring father of Satsuki and Mei. He is more than happy to go along with their games, even when he has important tasks at hand. That's his do-it-for-her moment. He too appreciates the prospects of spirits in and around the house, and even teaches the girls how to properly respect them and the nature around them. Gregory Snegoff was cast to play Tatsuo in the Streamline dub. Interestingly, he was also featured as a couple characters in the infamous movies The Legend of the Titanic, Titanic: The Legend Goes On, and the spin-off Tentacolino. Tim Daly, who was nominated for an Emmy for his role in The Sopranos, and was the voice of Superman from Superman the Animated Series, took the role of Tatsuo in the Disney dub. It's fitting that someone who played a Guardian-type character such as Superman was set to play Tatsuo. Gregory Snegoff has a deeper and more casual sound about him.
Well, I remember doing the very same thing when I was his age.
I hate boys.
While Tim Daly plays it more gentle, as if he was talking to actual kids.
Do I look like a big girl?
You do. Are you going somewhere?
I'm just off to run some errands.
This version of Tatsuo better reflects both Streamline and Disney's dub of his wife, Yasuko. Alexandra Kinworthy from Streamline and Lea Solanga from Disney have a very soft and caring way of speaking. The only notable difference from their takes is that Lea has a breathier voice compared to her Streamline counterpart.
So how do you like it in the country? Have you settled in?
Yeah.
Of course. I wish I could go home with you and see them right away.
Both Tatsuo and her don't have wildly different alterations in their lines. If anything, it is mainly different phrasing to relay the same idea. There is one notable difference though. It's what Tatsuo calls the classic Ghibli creature, Susuwatari, or soot sprites.
Well, I'm pretty sure they were dust bunnies.
Dust bunnies? I mean, it kinda makes sense. It feels like the natural go-to name a parent might use for a creature described in such a manner. They could be easily passed off as those little dust bunnies that you find under your bed or couch. Disney has them called...
It was probably just some soot gremlins.
Gremlins? I love Gremlins. Granny, or Nanny in the Streamline dub, is the sweet elderly neighbor who cares for Satsuki and Mei and supports them during hard times. When she first meets the girls, she clarifies what these little fuzzy black creatures are.
It appears the soot sprites are hard at work.
What are they?
That's right. Streamline was the first to use the name Soot Sprite. Disney also does switch to Soot Sprite later on, when Granny confirms Mei and Satsuki's suspicions of the creatures.
Soot sprites? The black puffballs? About this big, and they scurry everywhere when you enter a room?
That's right.
Natalie Court in Streamline's dub and Pat Carroll in Disney's voice the kind old lady. I did notice that Natalie seemed to have a pinch of that old person pronunciation kids do when they try to imitate elderly people.
A couple of fine kids. My, what smart children.
Yo, you hear how it sounds? I don't know if that's intentional or if I just made fun of an old woman's voice. Also, she says, eh.
Eh? Eh? Eh?
Which I actually enjoy. Pat Carroll doesn't have the little inflection in her speech or say eh. She mostly plays it straight.
Hi. Well, it's nice to meet you too. What nice manners you have.
Let's finish off the human characters with Kanta, the neighbor boy and grandson to Granny. He is at first mildly antagonistic before turning into a helpful friend of the girls. Konna has a more mature-sounding voice from Kenneth Hartman in the Streamline dub.
Hey, my dad's got everyone in the village searching for her, so you go home and I'll bike to Shichi Kokuyama.
As compared to Zoe 101 actor Paul Butcher in the Disney.
My dad's got a bunch of people looking for her. I could ride my bike to the hospital for you.
There isn't much more to say concerning him. He only has a handful of lines. Okay, the humans are done. So now we move on to the non-speaking forest spirits. Things will get a little more detailed now. Surprisingly, Totoro himself was redubbed by Disney, something that Streamline shockingly kept in from the Japanese version, considering their urge to change so much. Hitoshi Takagi in the original dub gives Totoro a guttural bellow. Do you hear those grunts echoing in his cavernous mouth? It is befitting of an enormous creature such as he. On the other hand, the roars and grunts done by Frank Welker in the Disney are hearty and beastly, but seem to be more localized in the nostrils. I think it works a little better in the scene Mei first encounters him and asks for his name. You can hear Totoro a bit better. I know he isn't supposed to be speaking, but I believe it helps sell it a little more. Frank Welker also did the cat sounds for Cat Bus. I think they are fine, but I have to say I prefer Streamline's dub for Cat Bus. Yeah, they left Totoro alone, but Cat Bus got a redub. He has strong and loud cat yowls. It's what I would expect from a cat of that magnitude. Also, they sound somewhat like an alarm sounding. I can't really explain it, but it does give him an otherworldly feeling, suitable for a spirit in my opinion. And he can also speak English.
Next up, little sister.
Wait. Cat Bus isn't supposed to speak. Who did this voice? Oh, of course. Carl Macek, the man of controversy himself. He volunteered his voice for Cat Bus. Fitting that he gave his voice to a character that originally had none. This actually brings me to what I wanted to talk about next. The many inaccuracies and changes made in the Streamline dub. I understand the thought process behind giving a voice to Cat Bus. Streamline didn't use any subtitles. Not for books, papers, or any written Japanese text. I grew up watching this movie not knowing that this book said oceanography. I finally feel complete. Without subtitles, Cat Bus's destination roll sign wouldn't be understood by kids, and that is a plot important sign, so a voice seems necessary to point this out. We just have to trust that Cat Bus isn't lying to us when he tells us the destination.
Next up, little sister.
That says Mei. Little sister could mean any little sister. I've been lied to. Without showing the subtitles, it was easier for Streamline to go loose on translation because most people couldn't read Japanese characters in the US. Before DVDs were released and they could hold multiple audio tracks and subtitles as well, VHS tapes released of anime were typically subbed or dubbed, with the latter expected to sell better. The decision to omit subtitles was further pushed by Carl Macek's view on them being frivolous if the anime was already dubbed into English. Macek, I can't hear those Japanese characters on the letter.
Oh yes, Mei sends her love and wanted to make sure you saw her drawing.
Okay, well, I can't hear them accurately.
Waiting for them to sprout, and it's starting to make her crabby. Here's a picture of Mei as a crab.
Disney was a bit inaccurate in their translation here too, but did make a solid attempt to respect the source material. Satsuki drew Mei as a crab not because she was crabby, but because she looked like the crab from the Japanese fable The Quarrel of the Monkey and the Crab, who at one point anxiously awaits a persimmon tree to grow. It's a story most Western audiences probably wouldn't know. The removal of this detail is one of the many points of localization seen particularly in the Streamline dub. Disney was pretty dead on other than that change. An interesting aspect of this changing is when referring to Totoro, he is sometimes called
Mei actually met a ghost, Totoro.
And by Disney,
Totoro? You mean a troll?
Disney is referencing a part of the script where Satsuki asks Mei if she meant Tororo, the Japanese way to say troll, not Totoro. Now, when it comes to Streamline, this is completely speculation, but I believe they referred to him as a ghost because they didn't fully understand the concept of spirits as they are represented in Japanese culture. With all the talk of the house possibly being haunted at the beginning of the movie,
I've always wanted to have a haunted house. It's been my lifelong dream.
Haven't you heard? You're living in a haunted house.
it's possible that Totoro, Catbus, and the Soot Sprites were lumped in with the Western idea of ghosts and spirits. The closest that we get to the idea of him being a forest spirit is when Tatsuo calls him the king of the forest.
So, what do you say we thank the king of the forest and get back for our lunch?
Further changes to make the movie understandable to American audiences involve the removal of a Buddhist chant Granny recites at one point. Instead, she was praying under her breath. This was kept in with Disney. Nami Amida Buddha. While a few of these alterations remove some of the Japanese culture in an attempt to make it more relatable by audiences outside Japan, oddly, there are instances of characters saying something completely different than what they said in the original script and in the Disney version. But it isn't changed to appeal to a Western audience. It's just strangely reworked for, hell if I know.
See you later!
Have a nice day!
Have a nice day makes sense, but
Well, thanks for saying goodbye!
shows a fun familiarity they all share, with a bit of humor.
No scares!
Why did Mei grimace like that?
The toilet!
Ah, yeah. That's because she originally found the bathroom. I don't think it's egregious or anything, at least not like the next scene. Let's start by watching the Disney version, so you can get a good idea of how this scene goes.
I'm looking for my sister! Did you happen to see a little girl pass this way?
Let's see, a little girl. I don't think so. I would have noticed.
Okay, now let's break down the Streamline dub.
Well, seems to me I remember someone. Yes, near as I can recall, she went that way.
Not only does the farmer see Mei in this version, which is totally out of nowhere, he also tells Satsuki what road she traveled down. He's lying, Satsuki. Don't listen to him.
Then again, she might have gone in the other direction. You sure it was your sister?
No, she isn't sure it was her little sister. She was looking for this little sister. So, is this scene improvised or something? Now the farmer has all sorts of information he never had before, but also questions Satsuki if she is sure who she's looking for. It's wildly inaccurate, and the dialogue doesn't make a lot of sense. In my opinion, this is about as bad as it gets, because if you're going to make some modifications to a scene, at least have them seem competent and somewhat true to the source.
Totoro, 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 Totoro.
It's been a little since we looked at the songs in this movie, so let's finish this comparison with the final song, My Neighbor Totoro. Once again, Cassie Byram returns to sing in the Streamline version. I like how she performs this song. With much vibrato on her held notes, there is a little more power to her voice this time around too.
Who leaves the seeds for you to find?
Sonia Isaacs reprises her role for Disney. She uses a gentler voice this time around, but still doesn't have much vibrato, making her cover quite different from Cassie's.
It may seem like a dream, but things are not what they seem.
Funny how this song kinda evens out the intensity of both Cassie and Sonia, though I am more of a fan of Cassie's cover. With that said, it's completely possible that I go over every single instance of difference in granular detail between these two films, but we would be here for a very long time. I wanted to analyze the main voice actors' executions of their characters and present you with a solid idea of what Carl Macek and Streamline did to My Neighbor Totoro. Are the changes necessary? No. No, they are not. But are they welcome? Well, that question is a loaded baked potato. Personally, I tend to watch subs over dubs, so watching an inaccurate dub doesn't bother me. And it is a bit fun too sometimes. This movie was lucky enough to have a redub that is much, much more accurate, and I can rest easy knowing that people who gravitate towards dubs can have a spot-on experience. Though, what if Disney's dub did not exist? Those people would be missing out on the original vision that Miyazaki wanted to share with the world, and that doesn't sit well with me. There are an exceptional amount of liberties taken in the dialogue of the Streamline dub. The ideas and story are kept intact, but are translated in a manner that is so different from the original script that it is almost a different movie. I wonder if the movie would have still received the same reception if Carl Macek had kept the script true to the source material. Did all the anime Americanized by him catch on due to the changes, or was it altered needlessly? I truly don't know the answer to that question, but it is worth pondering. Both the Disney and Streamline dub offer so much in their own respects. Disney with its excellent voice acting and spot-on translation.
You must have met one of the spirits of the forest. That means you're a very lucky girl.
Streamline with its quirky and fun execution.
What are those little things swimming around? I don't know. Goldfish maybe or something?
Which I have an extreme soft spot for. I recommend watching both at some point to see which one you're fond of. If you find you don't like either, you can always stick with the original and watch the sub. Despite the many changes Streamline made from the original content, it is the dub that I prefer. A lot of it can be chalked up to nostalgia though, but I also like the voice actors' performances just a tad more. It would be really neat to have the voice talents of Streamline mixed with the accuracy of Disney. Maybe if I offer Totoro an umbrella, he will gift me a custom copy of the movie wrapped in dragon whiskers.
It was a package wrapped up in bamboo leaves and tied with dragon whiskers.
I want to thank you for watching this far. Did you like seeing two Ghibli dubs pitted against each other? Please tell me in the comments because I am considering covering another Streamline dub and its redubbed counterpart. If you enjoyed your stay, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment. Thanks for chilling with me, and I hope to see you again at the Rerun Lounge. Now, I'm going to go to the bus stop and look for Totoro after I sit in the dark for a couple minutes.